Recording in progress.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We'll call ourselves to order. It is 4:01 p.m. on Tuesday, August 15th, the ASD School Board work session. First, we'll do a roll call. Madam Clerk, can you do that for us?
Member Donnelly?
Here.
Member Higgins? Member Holloman?
Here.
Member Jacobs?
Present.
Member Lessons? Here. Member Wilson? Present. And President Bellamy? Here.
Thank you. I believe that's all members present. We'll move on to item B, board requests for information. My understanding from Ms. Foster is we don't have any uncategorized requests for information. Does any board member wish to add an item to our RFI log here today? Member Donnelly?
Thank you, Mr. President. I had asked a question. Somebody had posted to me and I passed it on. I understand there was some additional information or explanation requested. The question was, can the municipality overrule an action by the school board regarding a school? And there was a question came back to me saying wanting more detail, but I thought it's self-explanatory. If the school board was to take a position on any school-related matter, can the assembly pass, I would assume, an ordinance that overruled it in specific reference to a school policy matter?
Okay, but Dr. Bryant, is this something administration's previously reviewed?
Sure, through the chair, we did request a legal review on the matter. I haven't received it yet, but as soon as I do, I'm happy to share it with the board, likely in Board Connect.
Okay, sounds like that resolves your inquiry. Member Donnelly, thank you. Any other members with uncategorized requests for information we'd like to bring up at this time before we move on? Okay, seeing none, thank you. We'll move on to item C, discussion, Northern Compass Group. As our first item, I think we have Ms. Toma here today with Northern Compass Group. Welcome. Dr. Bryan, anything before we hand the meeting over to Ms. Toma for a bit?
No, and after that, we have a briefing on capital plans.
All right, well, the floor is yours, Ms. Toma. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Shauna Toma with Northern Compass Group. I have worked for the school board on behalf of all of you in the district this past year. We started off really, we weren't even on a contract yet, but to get up to speed on everything happening with the school district and the budget. It was last fall. I can't believe how fast time flew. I do know this. We were so fortunate and grateful to be able to do this work. I think it offered the opportunity for many of us working on the school district items to have a really better understanding of how the district works with all the other levels of government and with the private sector here. The one time I remember is back at the work session, I think it was November or December, when we were all here for a whole Saturday working on, you did sort of a board game of sorts of the budget kind to decide what were the priorities. And shortly around that same time, I also attended one of your retreats for the day. And that was very enlightening. One of the things that came out loud and clear from that time with most of you was the need to better connect to the community. And at the same time, where I was just trying to get familiar with and up to speed on board and district issues, I was really taking part in a lot of activities with the business community here in Anchorage, and have been leading the RVSEA, our Roadmap to a Vital Safe Anchorage, which brought together hundreds of people over the last time of COVID, and dozens of business owners who were started to really have this conversation about what will we do with our economy? How will we rebuild it? How will we keep students to stay in Anchorage? How will we get students to know they can go to school and have a trade or go to the university here? How we get them to stay in Anchorage and raise their families here and continue what we've started and what many of you have worked on over all of your careers to build Alaska. And those items were in my mind when I first met with all of you. They really stuck with me, and working on this contract for you has really helped me see the connection and actually work on it in a volunteer capacity and for work. It was every day I woke up since I've been working with the school district, I thought, what's going to happen today with the Anchorage School District? And lots of things did. My past work and in the private sector and public sector helped me really have my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the state, also federally and in Juneau and here with the Anchorage Assembly too. So I put that all together to do my best work for you. It's an important time for the Anchorage School District. And I wrote some of the items into the scope of work that we presented to you. And we really did work on them. The time right now, I guess one of my biggest takeaways is that it's a shift that we need to make, and that you are making, and that you've collectively and even individually worked to move some things along that will really help shape and keep our economy together. When we started this work, the school closures loomed large. It seemed like the biggest thing ever at that moment. And then so many more things happened over the course of the beginning of 2023. But our main goal was to really listen to the things you discussed in your board retreat, and also really look at your goals and guardrails and make sure that the things you said you wanted to do matched up with the goals you set out in the last year or the year before. and make sure we were doing those things that would also help all the students in this district become career, college, life ready. When we, in the first few weeks, some of the items really came to the top that we did work on in so many different ways, prioritizing the budget items where money could be saved. And I remember you talking about renegotiating healthcare and repurposing schools, managing those potential school closures, which you did. I mean, it was amazing to see how that happened, and also working to get the message out as things moved along to the community, and also hear what the community had to say to you and make sure that line of communication was open. That's what I mean by kind of putting all of my experience I've ever had in the private and public sector all to use during this work for you, because it's really important. One thing you expressed to us, and that the people in this community expressed to you, is that they wanted to know what was going on, and you wanted to make sure you were accountable and could tell them. So every day, that was the guiding light to do all of that, the accountability, your goals and guardrails. And then as the year has gone on, we worked on everything we could do to help educate, make the messaging the best it could be to educate legislators and other people around the state about education funding, sustainable long-term education funding. The literacy and reading aspects of the district, that's clearly in your goals. Also math, those items are moving along, and those are something that the public really, really loved hearing about. One tiny slice of work that I did every day was to really monitor news and also social media, earned media, all of it, to see what are people saying, and also just listening to people around town. Sometimes I would sort of call some of you and ask you, what are people saying? Or listen in on community council meetings, any place where people were gathered and talking about the district. And what people loved hearing about was that our students are reading, and that our students are being challenged by the programs that this district's offering. Also, there was a real need that has, shown through in so many ways, and that was the need for a wellness initiative, which you did pass this year. And those sort of things, when policies change here, it was a constant challenge, and also, fun to figure out how can we take a policy that you passed here in this room, and make people know about it, understand it, and know why you did it. I mean, this is a research-based organization. Reams of paper went into the data collection and the reporting that you've done in the past years to lead up to making the changes. So my other challenge that we've took upon ourselves was to figure out how to portray that to people. And it's really simple. People wanted to know their students are being challenged and learning to read, and how important that was. And I remember a picture in the paper of one of the events happening at a school got more play on social media than almost anything else this year. They really do care about that. And it's hard to quantify that connection between what you do and the public, and what the public wants to hear about and what you do. But that was the area that we were able to work in very well. The one thing that we said we would do, and that we did do, is to really collect data. And we did that you did some of the work yourselves, there was a survey that was offered, I think, to parents. I think it went out on social media, and I think it was available on the website, which your website's very well done and helpful for folks. But we looked at the surveys. I went through a lot of that information to hear what people were saying back at the beginning of the year. And then also we did a survey that I know, just because of timing, by the end of the year, you have not received this yet, but there's very incredible data that we collected from about 600 people. It was a survey done toward the end of a school year about what people think about the district and what they really want to hear from, or what they really want to see. This is it. And I will have the person who conducted that survey still give that presentation to you at a time appropriate. But it was very valuable information. So getting some of that was key in in our advice on messaging and the documents that you put out. I oftentimes would collaborate with the administration staff, with MJ and the comm staff, to make sure things were really matching up. And it was very useful information to have, and you were going to be, I think, surprised by it. People in this community are very interested in their students having real life skills, more than anything else. Because I left a blank question that said, what are the most important issues facing the school district today? And in so many different ways, people did say budget and finance are very concerned about that. Of course they are. And that message came through loud and clear. But they also want to make sure that our students can survive and that they can manage the world, the complex world we live in, with the skills they learned here. And that gets me to probably one of the most enlightening and positive things I did in the past, many years. I've been working in the private sector. And that is to really see to learn about what the school district's doing more than I did on technical training and training at King Tech High School and in the other programs throughout the district. And then to figure out a way to start putting that together. At the moment that I was thinking the school district could really do this. We have our workers here. We are the workforce. Our students are our workforce. There's no magical people coming out of the sky, and every business sector in the entire state and the country and internationally too, are having worker shortages. And I thought to myself, we have students here that can do these jobs. And at the same time, the district was well on their way to working on the new academy system and the whole CCL implementation. And it was a perfect time to really put it all together. I'm really amazed and proud of the staff I met here. I was able to go along on the trip to Nashville, Tennessee in March and see how another district is implementing the new system that this district seeks to start. And I just think that is the right moment, because the economic experts in Alaska, the AEDC, all the reports, all the consultants from in every way have talked about that it's about workers and workforce. And even this week, even today, I know Secretary Buttigieg is in town. I heard his, 7 a.m. Newscast, and he talked about workforce development. And the thing is that we are so far ahead of a lot of districts across the country, and we're on the right path in that way. And I think that with what I learned about what parents want for their students, with what students value and what they're, happy to get to learn, and what the district is doing to move those aspects forward, we're just going in the right direction. I can't say that enough. Even if I never get to work for you again, which I hope that I do, because it's really rewarding and I feel like it's beneficial to the private sector, the business community, and our whole economy. Even if nothing else, I just wanted to be able to tell you that today, that what you're doing is the right thing, and it's the right thing for our students. The confidence and pride they have in what they're doing was surprising to me, and it was just enlightening, and it made me happy. There's some videos I brought to show you. That's a tiny sample of what is going on in the district, and this was part of the work that we did. But I watched them hundreds of times. Maybe that's very nerdy, but these students, we don't all get to see students. I don't work in education, and hearing them talk for themselves about what they love about the district and what they've learned was gratifying and inspiring. So what I brought today was a sample. I feel like the sound's going in and out. Is it okay? Okay. The one task we gave a company there's a company called Landsick Media, and the owner of that company's name is Quentin, and he is a graduate from this school district, and he also graduated from King Tech back when it was King Tech. He has his own business now. So we reached out to him, and I asked him, and also the Jeremy at King Tech High School, who's the director of one of their video and production program. I talked to them and also the principal there about getting students to talk about their experience in the district and what they learned. So it was not scripted. They worked that out themselves. And I thought to myself, these students now are so sophisticated, they'll figure it out, and they did. So this is raw from them. These are 60-second spots that can be used right now, but you haven't seen them yet. So I thought, well, I'll bring them today to show them. I know President Bellamy was excited to see them also. And I took each one of these, there's 10 of them, and we were able to pare them down and make 30-second videos that have not yet been produced. And so those have a more general bent on them. These focus on King Tech, and there's a little piece in there, but these really can be made for everything. These are really representative of the district. So we can go ahead and show some of these. If it's too, if there's enough time, we'll show them all, but if not, we'll just show a couple of them so you get the idea. And the first one, this first student she's at the UAA also. She's in the dual enrollment program. So you can go ahead with them. We'll show a few along the way and then see how much time we have left for questions.
My name is Dorothy. I'm a junior. I attend Alaska Middle College School, and I am your workforce. Things that drew me here were definitely the opportunities and the community that is here at King Tech. I really enjoyed the freedom to not only choose your classes, but the freedom you get here. You can choose when you want to go to school. Ames Test is really good because you get a feel for what you want to do after high school, and being dual enrolled, you get both high school and college credits. So it's like a stepping stool for what you actually want to do after high school. The environment here is very laid back, and because of that, we have chances to connect with each other, and we connect even better because we all have a very similar goal in our minds for life: to get a college degree after high school and to have a successful career. To succeed in this program, I think you definitely should be hardworking, self-disciplined, and be really enthusiastic about learning.
My name is Garen Walkman, and I attend King Tech High School, and I am your workforce. I was driven to King Tech from my want to be an electrician, and I just felt that this would be a great step in the door to start my career. I mainly enjoy the hands-on activity that it provides. The skills that it takes to be in the construction electricity class is being hardworking, determined, and not afraid to fail. It's really all about not stopping and just doing your best. In the electrician field, you can be a wireman, an inside wireman, a lineman, or a service technician, and there are many more available. I feel like the trades are a great way to go if you don't feel comfortable in traditional schooling. After high school, I'm planning on attending the IBEW apprenticeship program, and later on, in 4 or 5 years, after becoming a foreman and doing well on the job, gaining my administrator's card and being able to start my own business.
My name is John Blackwood. I'm in the 12th grade at King Tech, and I am your workforce. My stepmom actually went to this program a few years back, and she mentioned it, and she mentioned that the teacher was really cool, and so I was like, okay, well, now I gotta try it, and it's actually been a lot of fun. The thing that I like most about this program is getting to learn how to actually cook things and follow recipes, because it's a very big step in life. It's very important that you know those kind of things. The kind of skills it takes are usually motivation, hard work, and teamwork, because you work a lot in the kitchen and you're running around and there's a lot of people around, so you gotta be able to coordinate and do your best. The kind of jobs that are available in the culinary field are usually restaurant-based, because we learn a lot about what actually goes on in the restaurant, things like being a line chef, being a busser, and front of the line, which is serving, basically, and then sous chef, the assistant to the actual chef. The kind of things that I want to do with this training is be a family man. I really want to take care of a family, and I feel like cooking is a very important part to that.
My name is Lou Ramirez de Cerns. I'm a junior. I go to King Tech, and I am your workforce. And what drew me to this program was specifically learning more on how to use a camera, because before I went here, I already had a camera and I was using it mostly for photography. Using it to film stuff never really occurred to me until I came here, and now it's all I think about. What I like most about this program is that it's not taught in a traditional teaching style. It's more hands-on. You have to apply yourself to get better at what we're doing here. What I've learned in this program that I probably wouldn't have learned anywhere else is just overall the different amounts of cameras, how to use them, different lighting, the names of most of the things in this industry, and in general just how to edit everything and anything. Skill that I proved the most while doing this program is overall just people skills. I am usually really shy when it comes to go out of my way to talk to people, and here learning how to do interviews and overall just interact with people that I weren't normally has really just helped me. You should definitely take this class. You'll make a lot of friends and learn a lot.
My name is Clarence Faulkner. I'm in 12th grade and I'm at King Tech High School. And I am your workforce. I heard about King Tech's welding program and here I am. You get out what you put in. There's not an instructor always over your shoulder because it's preparing you for the workforce. You have to be hardworking and be patient because sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want it to. The kind of jobs that are available with welding, the iron workers weld a lot, or a pile driver, they drive whatever material like metal, concrete, wood into the ground to make a foundation so people could build bridges or buildings above it, which I'm going to be this summer thanks to King Tech. I'm pretty happy with my starting wage right out of high school. I feel like since I've come to King Tech, it's provided me with so much opportunities. I really feel like it's built an amazing foundation for my future.
I'm Suresh Novitsky. I'm grade 11 at King Tech High School, and I am your workforce. What drew me to the program, I've always had a love for aviation just from a young age. It's been like passion of mine. My grandpa flew, so it's been subtly in the family for a while. If you really want to be in this industry, aviation, or even any industry in life, you just got to have accountability. So I think aviation's a good teacher for accountability and for self-pride, take pride in your work. A cool thing about it is even if you're not into flying, they've had guys come in who were from the military, from maintenance. They've had air traffic controllers come in and talk to us. So it really is not just focused on the flying. It opens your eyes to all the fields of the world of aviation. I mean, the classmates, they've really helped me and pushed me and motivated me through a lot. Mr. Fick, my instructors, motivated me, and it definitely is a gateway into, your career in aviation. I definitely recommend this program. It's a lot more fun than it's just scripted.
Yes, we have time for questions. As I talked about these, geeked out to people around town, I don't think people really have any idea what the Anchorage School District offers. And the idea is that the I Am Your Workforce campaign will help the community understand that and give people hope. The employers in this town, since I work for so many different business groups, the employers in this town are worried. And also even people who are trying to build things and look at how we spend the infrastructure dollars and get things done in this state are worried because we don't have workers in the pipeline and we need them. We need every level of kind of worker. And I like this. These give a little bit of a sample of what the students are interested in doing, what we do offer. So it's really bridging that connection, going all the way back to the retreat last year about what this board wanted to do. So this is a sample of that. I'm happy to take a few questions, and luckily I use up most of the time, so there's not that much time for questions, I think. But I'm happy to take any.
Thank you, Ms. Toma, and I appreciate your time, the effort you put into getting us to this point, and your guidance throughout the past year and bouncing things off as a professional specializing in this area. We've got a few minutes for questions if board members have any before we move on to our other agenda item.
Mr. Chair.
Madam President, we'll get you in the queue. First, we'll go with Member Holloman, then Member Lessons, then Member Bellamy.
This may be a squishy number, and it occurred to me talking with someone else today. I'd never heard it, but we know the workforce population in Anchorage is going down, and I'm wondering what number of that would be students in the, say, 18 to 22-year-old band that either got some training in trades or went to college and then never came back. I mean, we tend to think of students as going with their families, but there's some number where the families are still here. Students never return. I've never heard anyone put a number on it. I don't know. I would be shocked if you knew that off the top of your head. I think it's something people would have to dig for, but I was just wondering if you had an idea.
That is a good question. About how many students leave and don't come back, even if their families are still here. I do believe that some of those numbers are in the recent information, the recent report by Anchorage Economic Development Corporation. They gathered a lot of data to compile it, and I think they do have that number, but I'll find it for you. I'll see if they do have some information, and that's it's just something we want to make sure we don't let continue.
Thank you, Member Hallman. Yeah, I think the census data said north of 30% of 18 to 24-year-olds left Anchorage during the census period. So that's one data point, but certainly open to anything else, Ms. Twomey, you'd like to provide. Member Lessons, then Member President Bellamy.
Thank you so much for being here. The videos are really spectacular pieces of storytelling. I think that the value, it's hard to measure maybe the value in them in connecting what ASD does well to the community as a whole. And I guess I'm just sort of curious, how are we going to share those at a larger level? And maybe that's a question maybe for the administration sort of as we move forward, but how will we continue to share these stories and so many more with the community?
I think that the reason we made videos is because they're just powerful. And everyone who uses social media says that videos are really sort of the most watched thing. That's what how they do get a lot of information. These are 60 seconds. So these would be more, living on the website or something. But from these bigger ones, we can make shorter snippets, which I did scale them down through 30-second ads, and they can be made into even 15-second ads. And when you open videos on your phone, it's the 15-second ads are key, or even shorter. It's amazing what people get, but having them in one place and having these together is the starting point. So there's many ways to do it. It's sort of it's just about scale and budget behind it. It's playing them on social media and as ads as everywhere. I mean, there's so many ways to get them out. It just depends on how much we want to put behind it, but even in very simply, these can be on the website that you already have. But then beyond that, we want to make sure this gets out to folks. And I went to the Visit Anchorage lunch last month, and some of the staff from the district there talking about this and talking about the new academy system and CCL. And it was so well received. I was sitting in the back with one of the Visit Anchorage members who owns a bed and breakfast, and everyone is really desperate for workers. And I could tell in the room they were relieved and excited that there's something like this happening here. So by presentations, showing the videos, getting them on public media, getting them in all forums, they're golden.
Thank you for the question. President Bellamy, if you'd like to close us out, I think we've hit our time allotment before we move on.
Sure. And I just have a couple of comments. First of all, thank you, Shauna. And Shauna has been amazing, but she left out a whole lot of work that she did not share. Among the work that we did, coalesced around our legislative priorities, ensuring that our message was clear, working with our comms team. I mean, I really, as I look over this last 8 months, I can't thank the Assembly enough for their gracious grant, which made the Northern Compass Partnership possible. And I really don't know, I would have struggled more as president had I not had this resource. We have an amazing comms team, and Lord knows their plates have been full. So I just wanted to recognize that what seems to be just a real quick report, it lasted weeks. We met weekly, not to mention phone calls in the middle of the night, early mornings. We were never turned down. And I just want to just show appreciation for that and gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Ms. Toma, for your time today.
Thank you all.
All right, we'll move on to our next agenda item, C2 Capital Plan CIP. Superintendent Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a big one, so we'll share a lot of great information today. And then, of course, if there are additional questions, we can work with the chair to schedule additional follow-ups as needed. So I will pass it on to our CP&C team.
Okay, we will try to get through this briefing. We may end up finishing it at portions of a finance meeting or maybe do questions during the finance meeting. If you'll go to the next slide. So what we've been working on this summer is coming up with multiple different briefs so we can walk through the board on how we do capital planning in the district, make sure the board understands timelines, why they exist. And so some of these that I put up as a templated for some of the follow-on briefs are deep dives of some of the topics you'll see today. So we'll try to do a 30,000-foot overview, cover as many topics as we can. And again, if we have to do questions at the finance committee meeting, that's fine as well. Slide. And I will be followed by Tom Finisef.
Okay, I'm Tom Fenisef. I'm the Senior Director of Capital Planning and Construction. Today I get to share with you an overview of what we do in CP&C and also introduce you to some of my team members who work very hard to bring capital construction projects to the district. So CP&C has three main areas that we do. That's the capital improvement program, bond development, and the design and execution of projects. So the capital improvement plan, it's published annually in April, and it outlines the district's 6-year plan for capital improvements. It also details ASD facilities and lists current and projected enrollments. In a moment here, Dana's going to be talking about the building life cycle, and Larry will be talking about how we prioritize those capital improvements. So each year we produce this. Now, along with this capital improvement plan, the first year of that is the bond. So that is done concurrently with the capital improvement plan as you can follow along with the annual cycle. The bond, about 96% of our projects are funded through the bond. Also, CP&C department is funded through the bond. Other sources include grants and general fund contributions, but mainly we're bond funded operation. Capital projects consist of everything on the building or the grounds that is not maintenance or repairs. Projects typically require design and are funded by bonds, and Edie will cover those project steps. So you can see that our capital improvement program overlaps and works concurrently with the bond and other projects. And the goal of our capital improvement program is to meet the needs of the district while we prioritize those needs into different yearly bond packages. So bond and CIP development culminates in school board approval and then submission to the assembly for inclusion of the proposition in the ballot. Meanwhile, we're spending 2.5 months doing a very short construction season, and that overlaps with 9 to 12 months of design and up to 8 months of procurement. So the overall process takes up to 3 years. And if the construction season spans over 2 seasons, it takes about 4 years from the very start of a project to the very end of the project. So pending any initial questions here, I'll be followed by Dana Menendez, who will talk. She's our ASD facilities planner, and she'll talk about facilities.
Hi, at least I didn't get a spicy mic. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the building's life cycle. So I'm going to start with stage 2 through 5, and then I will go through and kind of give examples of where some of the schools that sit in each one of these categories. You'll notice at the bottom, there is a green dash that goes all the way through. That is preventative maintenance and routine maintenance. And then the blue is our capital improvements, and the yellow is adaptations and needed upgrades. So the first stage is stage 1. That's the first year of the building. There's really not a lot going on. Stage 2 is 1 through 16. There you'll see flooring and interior finishes that are starting to look their age. The buildings that fit in this category are Girdwood, Begich, and Clark. Stage 3 is 17 to 29 years. And that's where you'll see exterior doors and our roofs start to come to where they need to be replaced in this category. The schools that fit this is Denali, Mirror Lake, and South High School. Stage 4 is our 30 to 49-year-old buildings or additions. And those are where the heating and ventilation systems are coming of age and are in need of replacement. The schools that fit this category would be Bayshore, Handshoe, and Mears. Stage 5 is our 50-year-old buildings and older. This is where you'll see bigger needs for improvements, such as structural or foundation. And the schools that fit this category are Bartlett, Central, and Romig. At the bottom, you'll see that there's schools and numbers, and that's to show the schools that fit each one of those categories. Schools all have various ways of aging. Most of our schools have additions and renovations, so they will show up in several of these categories. And with that, that ends my slide, unless you guys have any questions.
I'll just interject just for a quick point of clarification. Where does the green column come from? Is that state major maintenance money allocation, the routine preventative maintenance funds?
That's the maintenance funding that you approve in the budget every year. Sometimes we'll get additional money from the state, but there's two different definitions of major maintenance, and we will talk through that in a finance meeting coming up. There's major maintenance account keys within the maintenance department that they consider it major maintenance because it's a large project for replacing carpet or floors or something. But major maintenance defined at the state level is really projects that fit in the capital plans world. So unfortunately, we use the exact same word that has two completely different meanings depending on who you are. If you're at the state level, capital plans means the things Tom and his team do, or major maintenance means those large projects. But within the district, we do have major maintenance account keys, which is significantly different.
Thank you. Any other questions before we move on? Member Listens.
Just really a reflection that we've got 53 buildings that are 30 years old or more. And I continue to sort of put in my pocket a comment from the last meeting about the doors at West High School being, you can't hang a screw on them anymore. So I find that troubling. That's all.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm going to hand this over to Larry Morris.
Hello. I'm Larry Morris. Planning and Design Supervisor. This slide pretty much is the axiom for existing educational facilities planning. It basically says, protect the people, protect the facility, enhance educational delivery, and look for operational cost savings. That really is how we prioritize projects. Some of the examples on this, under life safety, as we all know, Ursa Major was closed due to some structural and seismic issues. And then we also have our district-wide secure vestibule projects. Those fall under the life safety. Protection of structure, we've seen a lot of roofs come through. They're getting pretty old. And so along with this, we're also doing structural upgrades. When the roof is off, it's a good time to do structural improvements. Educational delivery, that's ongoing all the time. Anytime a building gets renovated, we adjust for any changes in educational delivery. This is coming up now with the CCL program, especially in high schools. We are not sure exactly how this is going to affect the facilities, but we are going to have to make those changes as we're doing other renovations. We'll take that into account. Plus, at the same time, we're updating our district-wide educational specifications, and this will also be used to help with that. Operational cost savings. We've seen a lot of these come through. Some of them as simple as we've been doing a lot of lighting replacements from the old T12s, T8s to LED lights for energy savings. But we also have, when we're doing a major renovation, we take into account operational cost savings, which one we have coming up soon in our list is Bartlett High School. On that one, I can tell you between maintenance costs and energy costs, we're looking at saving close to $1 million a year. And with that, I turn this over to Edie.
Hi, my name is Edie Knapp, and I'm the construction supervisor for the capital planning department. And I'm going to scream through these slides, but know that we will be doing deep dives on a number of these subjects in future meetings. Excuse me. So planning, identification and request for projects comes from a number of different sources. Sometimes they're emergent needs. Sometimes it's a school-based request. They've discovered something that they believe needs to be worked on. And then there's also the unfunded needs list that our department, Dana and our department holds. That is a list using various metrics of the facility condition index and the educational adequacy index. And so we'll go all through that in a deep dive as well. Once the projects are prioritized by our department, it's then, put into the CIP and sent to the administration and the school board for review, recommendations, approval, and the whole process then in a few months starts all over again for the next year. Funding, Tom's already pretty much covered the funding sources. Most of our projects are through bonds, and then we will do a deep dive on some of the other funding sources that we're chasing currently. We've got various procurement methodologies that we can use for construction. Our basic model is the design, bid, build, and that's the standard. There's board policy, and with board approval, we can use some alternative delivery methods, and those are listed on this slide, and we can talk about any of those. We will be doing a deep dive on those. Once all these early project decisions are made about, yes, there is a project, where we're going to get money, how we're going to deliver it, then we start design. And Larry works with our PMs, him and his design and planning staff, and they start with the old documents, and they go to the buildings, and they do a really deep look into the building and work through drawings and get to 100% bid ready documents. That way then we can take the purchasing and go out for a contractor. So.
If I could just add 3 things and then see if there's any questions. If you look at the upper left and you look under prioritizing and you see opportunity cost analysis, what happens is if you have to replace a roof or something big, you start looking at all those other projects that are easier to do and cheaper to do after you've removed a roof. And so when they start building the bond package, and as we've been working it all summer long, you certainly wouldn't want to do something where you have to remove part of the roof later after replacing it. So you start adding all those other parts and pieces. And that's kind of what Dana meant when she said that any one building can actually be in multiple phases at any one time. And it's that opportunity cost. So when there's an emergent need, and you open something up, almost always, as soon as you open it, you have to now bring it up to current code. And when you have so many old buildings, all of those things are considered. So if you have to bring it to current code, then what are the other things that are kind of like that or associated with it or are much easier, cheaper to do while you're already doing all the other work? And so it's pretty complicated to come up with prioritizing, especially when you have dozens of leaky roofs and someone's wondering, well, why this building over this building? And so it's not a clean formula where every day the numbers always add up exactly. And that's why this one is in front of something else. Not to mention, naturally, there's always the environment we're in, where the city gets to help choose priorities as well. So if you look down on funding, Karen McCarthy works for Senator Murkowski. She's incredibly good at keeping us informed. And this team put in probably a dozen grants, all just under 2 million, which is what we were asked to do this past spring. And they are always looking for a funding that doesn't have to do with bonds. So they've been working pretty hard this year. And then finally, if you look under design, the last bullet, the one thing I want to point out is now that the SCWA committee is standing up, when you look at the timeline on the next slide, as it's being talked through, the decisions on whether a project should be an SCWA probably should wait until the 65% design is complete, but shouldn't be done as you've already been working the ITB or the RFP to go into getting a contract. Because what you could do is what you want to do is give Dave Whiting and his team and capital plans time to build the product so they can get it on the streets for procurement. And if you wait too late in the process, what will happen is you will lose 2 or 3 months. And if you lose 2 or 3 months, if you waited that long, then it certainly would impact the following summer's construction and what was even possible. And I think it'll probably be discussed, but really the timeline for when contractors have locked in their summer projects, if you can get it done by January, it's generally cheaper and there generally are more people bidding. If you hold it up past that date for, once this committee gets moving and locking stuff in, you really do put that whole summer construction season at risk. So and we'll talk about that during subsequent, just so people understand timelines to these guys mean everything. And when decisions need to be made really affect the ability to start building a contract and getting it on the streets and then going through the analysis and picking it. So they live and die by timelines in this business. And it really is even more important now that there are in almost every single trade a shortage of workforce across Anchorage. And I'll pass.
All right. So this slide is just a graphical representation of the project life cycle of our projects. And like Tom talked earlier, if a project can be completed construction-wise in a summer, it is a 3-year process. If it needs to go to 2 years in construction, it will be a 4-year process. And I'd like to kind of carry on what Jim was saying is, normal construction is timeline based. Ours has an extra added bonus of the fact that 90% of our stuff needs to get done in the summer months, and they're not very long. So it is a big push, and the time to get out to bid is very important because we need to hit that summer window. Thank you. Back to Jim.
Okay, last slide. Again, these are the briefings that we've planned. But as we talk to board members and we find out what you want to know most about, our end goal is you can see the CIP will be briefed to the board at some point in the month of October. Prior to that, we want to do one-on-one briefings with each board member, kind of the way we've done budget for the last several years. But it really is, what do board members want to know, need to know to understand how the process works? Because it really isn't, we hand you Appendix A, that big spreadsheet that's really long and it covers the next 6 years, and then say, are there any questions? That's not what we're hoping for this year. We're hoping for a discussion with board members about, a little bit of an education on the science of what they do, how they do it, how they come up with the projects they came up with, but really wanting to know, what is it board members need to know to be able to make better decisions. And so this year, this first semester, and we'll continue it as long as the board wants to, we will do deep dive after deep dive at any opportunity we have to help you understand. And a good example is at some point, we'll talk about codes in the city. And there was a building last year where an amendment was made not to do curbs, a flagpole, or landscaping. Now, the capital plans people know that if you didn't do the curbs, you wouldn't be able to pass ADA, and there would be drainage issues And so we actually never would have been able to occupy. If you didn't do landscaping, then that would violate Title 23. So even though it looks like that might not be important as you're looking at a spreadsheet, it was at that point that I realized we need to do some education and help the board members know more about the complications of doing projects. And I think it'll make all of us a stronger team, because without landscaping, you would never be able to occupy. And that's a code. And there's no way anyone on the board, well, maybe a couple board members, most of the people on the board, there's no way you would know about the codes in Title 23 and the requirements that capital plans has to put into to even be able to occupy a building and get it completed by the city. So I don't mean anything disrespectful. Frankly, I didn't know. I knew the ADA piece because I've had to deal with that. I mean, we're all learning. We're a learning organization. And so I'm hoping that these capital plans briefs, they're really for you, not us. So the more you let us know what you're interested in and what you think your areas where you want to know more in, the more we will modify these and try to give the board members what they need.
Questions for the team? I'll jump in really quick and then we'll go to member lessons. We were talking about those grant opportunities through that we were notified about from Senator Murkowski's office. Would it be possible, I mean, do we keep a ledger of the grants we've received? I'm thinking it might be helpful to have that data point as we move forward with next year's bond and having that information available to the public.
Of course, when you see the deep dive on funding, we'll show all the grants that we have applied for, the grants that we've received in the past year. To give you an idea, when Ms. McCarthy told us make sure it's under 2 million, that's kind of the sweet spot. But of course, we don't know how many other people in the U.S. are competing for these. So it's really difficult with some of these federal grants to really know what your odds are, other than they spent a significant amount of time putting them in. But in the funding one, we'll lay all that out for you.
Thank you. Member Lessons?
Well, you kind of stole my question, but I do recall in a finance committee meeting this spring getting an overview of each of the grants you were pursuing. So I thought it was exciting then, and I continue to applaud that work and appreciate it, and look forward to a positive update at some point here in the future. Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? I'll put one other data point out there that might be helpful to go over when we do one of our deep dives. The intersection between the priority project list that the state works off of and this funding universe might be helpful to clarify. There's been some interest, I think, in Juneau in as the school bond debt moratorium sunsets, moving towards that project model. So interested to learn more there. Just throwing that out there as a data point. With that said, if that completes the administration's presentation, I think we can accept a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of legal updates, negotiations, and contracts.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, made by member Holloman, second by member Lessons. Absent any objection, we are adjourned to executive session. Thank you, everyone.
Recordings